Hey everybody, welcome back to the Deep Weeb podcast. Once again, we're joined with the Doth. Doth, thanks so much for coming back.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Just an honor to be here.
Yeah, and once again, gracing the Japanese podcast scene, we have the Hairless MMA fighter who has the nerve to be named Harry. He's been learning Japanese for a couple years, primarily through YouTube, and get this, with actual humans. Aussieman, thanks so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you for having me on this show. It's just such an honor to finally be on here.
What can I say? The Deep Weeb podcast. It's a staple of the Japanese podcast scene. All two of us. Anyways, Aussieman, where did you come from?
Originally, I come from Australia. Can you believe it?
People are in
Yo,
shock
you're upside
right
down,
now.
dude. You okay?
Yeah. Can you believe that I'm from Australia? Like, I feel like no one's ever guessed that before.
There's only a few countries that start with Aussie, right? So it could be. What's the other one?
Austria.
Austria.
Right?
Clearly, I'm from. Yeah, that's where everyone thought I was from.
Really?
I think. Cool. Sure.
Yo.
Yeah.
Interesting. So what about Aussieman? How did you become this character?
What character of Aussie,
Right.
man?
Yeah,
just
talk
like-
about your story, man.
Oh yeah, so this is the origin story. I was just like, just like I learned Japanese and I was like, oh yeah, mad. Now I can, speak Japanese and that. And then I found r/learn Japanese, and I just was like scrolling through, and I just got so angry that I just couldn't contain myself. So I just had to start.
What was it that
posting
made you angry in r/Japanese?
I can imagine.
That's quite a start.
Oh, just everything, like the fact that people even want to learn Japanese. I was just disgusted.
Yo, bruh. Wait, what got you into Japanese then? In that
Oh,
case?
Disgust.
No, I always wanted to learn Japanese. Yeah, disgust.
Oh.
That's exactly right. No, I don't know, because I did judo and shit when I was like a kid,
Mm.
and I was like, oh yeah, no, that it's like from Japan, right? That's cool. And like I knew all the like kanji and that, like I seen them before. I was like, that looks cool. Might as well learn it at some point.
Oh.
And then just got into it through that, and then like I don't know. Once I started learning it, I was like, nah, I want to get like actually decent, and then just went from there.
So was
Yo, guys, an origin story that's not anime or manga.
that's
new.
exactly what I was gonna ask. There was nothing like you didn't like watch an episode of Pokemon or something like that, and that changed your life. It was actually.
I did like Pokemon when I was a kid.
Okay.
To be fair.
Okay.
But
Okay.
I didn't know that was from Japan when I was a child. I don't think.
Based?
Like, yeah. Otherwise, who knows? Maybe I would have like mastered Japanese like by the time I was like 10. Who knows?
Yeah, I think
But,
we need to change the name of the show, dude. It's not Deep Weeb, it's Deep Normie now.
Deep
Oh.
Norm.
That sounds like that's such a good idea. You should probably change it. Like, just quickly go in there and change the title before people get confused.
I'll see what I can do. I'll get my technician on that immediately.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
So the country you're from, Australia, it has a rich cultural background, and I've certainly learned some interesting things about it from my one Australian friend. I was curious, you have any fun facts about Australia, or maybe where you're from, West Wodonga, that you could share with us?
Yeah,
Wodonga.
bro, I didn't expect you to bring that up. But what's a good fact? One of our prime ministers in Australia just one day he went to the beach and he just like never came back.
Hold on, who was this?
What is his? I think it's Harold Holt, probably. I might be wrong.
Wait, why did he go to the beach?
For a swim, mate? What do you reckon?
Yo,
What do you
I mean, he never
reckon?
came back. You would think,
I
went
don't
to
know.
buy some
Maybe
milk.
there was a conspiracy theory that like because this was like around World War II, they thought like the Japanese like stole him from the beach, but I don't think that's true. He probably just drowned. But yeah,
Wait,
that's a fun fact about Australia.
like, what was his role? Like, was this guy famous? I missed what you said.
He's the
Said-
prime minister, like
Prime
the leader
Minister,
of the
okay.
country.
That's
the
pretty
Prime
famous, Kanji,
Minister.
I would say.
Wow. Okay. That's a fun
Yeah.
fact.
Yeah,
So the
how
one
fun's that?
the one that I learned. So I'd like to take us all back to 1932 Australia, where you'll have to tell us what you know about this, Aussieman. You guys had a bit of a civil war, and apparently it was
I think I know
against
this.
these pests, these birds, these giant
Yeah, these
birds, the emus,
plague on Australia.
which apparently the military authorized lethal force, and you guys just had like machine guns, and you were fighting these
You had to get
emus.
rid of them. Disgusting.
Right.
This
That's
is
what
a
they
true
are.
story.
I remember seeing this on Wikipedia, and it's like military lost. So
That's
Yeah.
was
that's
funny.
the other fun
We were
fact
not
about it. How did you guys
successful.
lose?
Have you ever seen an emu? They're pretty big, mate.
I mean, I've seen an
Yo.
ostrich. I haven't. They're
They're
smaller than
similar.
an
They're
ostrich.
very aggressive.
I've
Are
seen
they?
a
I don't know.
Kasawari.
They're probably
He's
like a
pretty
similar
big.
sort of thing. Yeah.
Mm.
So we weren't able, like with Australia's, like really high tech technology of like bows and arrows. We weren't able to overcome the force of the emu.
Yeah, the natives, right?
So the war is over, right? I mean, MMA
The
sparring
war's
partner.
over because they've taken over. I can't, go near them. The reason I started MMA so that I don't get killed by an emu, while I'm walking down the street.
That is understandable.
You
yeah.
seem to have had success with that so far.
It's because I don't leave the house because I'm too scared.
So,
Dude, it's deep normie though. You definitely touch grass, right? Every few days.
Yeah, but like I go out and like rub the grass out the front and just go back inside, just to get like a bit of sun.
so moving
That's
on to your MMA career, which is really just started budding. How was the MMA debut?
It's good. I won like in the first round with the rear naked choke and got that with I think it was like a minute and a half in or something.
Mm-hmm.
It's like took him head down and choked him out, so it was good. And
Well, I was gonna actually say, so that was actually the first MMA fight I've ever seen. So it was a big day for both of us, quite honestly.
really,
Yeah, and I guess now that I've seen one of your fights, I just had a few points of feedback that I was wondering if I could share with you. Just some pointers.
I'd love to hear.
Okay.
I'd love to hear.
So you came out to some very loud, very aggressive music. I think it was like some Slipknot, and I was like, okay, this is high energy. But what if you came out to like some Hatsune Miku, some like J-pop stuff, like represented your anime roots, as a Pokemon kid?
Yeah.
Should
Should I just walk out to the Pokemon thing then?
I mean, what do you think that would do to your opponent's game?
I think they'd
I'll
probably.
be
I don't know.
confused as fuck.
I'd probably get in the ring and in the octagon they've left because they've been too scared. They'd probably climb outside. To be fair, that's what I'd do.
That's so. First off, you can use that one for free. I mean, just credit me. Speaking.
Be sure.
Yeah, for sure. So
Okay.
the other thing is, credit, shout outs. There were some announcers that I was listening to as they were doing this, and they're like, oh yeah, we were talking to Harry before, and he was telling us about, he learned all of his things from his, sensei, blah blah blah. But there was never any shout out to now that I'm part of the Language Gains Discord server, it's never like, oh yeah, he learned everything from the Language Gains Discord server boys. There was never any shout out there, and I was hoping at some point you'd just like take a mic from somebody and be like, hey yo, join the Discord or something like that. But
that
really never came. I mean, it was your first one. I don't want to be too hard on you. You know what I mean? It was your first one.
I really was hoping to get the microphone afterwards so I could give a bit of a shout out to my Language Gains Discord and the YouTube channel and the Deep Weeb podcast. I would have said, check me out next month on the Deep Weeb podcast.
There you go. Okay.
That's what I would have plugged instantly. That's all I was thinking.
It sounds like we're on the same brain. Yeah. Okay. Next time we'll know what to expect. All right. One last pointer. Okay. And this is. I mean, from what I saw, you were going against a long lad, and you basically just laid him out, broke his kneecaps, and just walked away. Right. It was pretty impressive. Yeah. What I was thinking is, okay, like in the same way, like the Pokemon theme can get into somebody's head. You're doing, one of those quadruplex sumo hold things, like behind them, right?
Yeah.
And like, they start squirming, trying to get out, trying to get out. You just cuddle up right next to their ear, and if you just said "Oni-tan," just like right in their ear, what do you think that would do to them? That's game over.
I mean, it depends what they're into. You might like trigger some like unwanted response there if they're like.
You've established yourself as the Emoto, though.
Oh, that's true. Well, maybe they want to get choked out by the Immortal. that might be their thing. You got to be careful with these things, because what happens if I do that and like he gets a sudden burst of energy because he's just so excited by it.
This is why you're in the ring and I'm not. So
See, I got to be
a
careful.
Fantastic point.
I did it after he was asleep.
Okay. Yeah. Well, after he's asleep, I mean, that's just for your own pleasure at that point.
Or what else would it be for?
Okay, fair. I mean, I was thinking.
That's
just,
what I'm saying.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, so another thing that has come up is training for the fight. I mean, let's start with that. What sort of training do you have to do for this MMA routine that you're in?
The first serious day, it's like what is it? It depends on the day, but like Monday is like I do wrestling and then MMA for like an hour each or hour and a half each. Then Tuesday I get up. I do like morning, midday, and night sessions of jiu-jitsu and MMA and Muay Thai. And then Wednesday is just MMA for like an hour and a half. And then Thursday is the jiu-jitsu in the morning, midday, and night. Then Friday we just have sparring. And every day as well I do cardio and weight training. That's like the current sort of thing at the moment.
So all in all, like, do you have any idea like how much time is that in a week in general to kind of get there? That's at least an hour every day plus the cardio and workouts.
It's roughly about like it'd be at least 3 hours a day, like 4 hours a day maybe ish. I'd say on average, but Monday to Friday, wow. Then only an hour Saturday, Sunday because it's like recovery more so.
So
like,
wow,
yeah,
17 hours a week, I suppose.
Consistent, yeah, very good.
And how long have you?
How would you recommend?
Oh my bad.
Yeah, somebody like a total noob like me. All right, I want to get into a fight. How would I train for that?
Just like slowly build it up, and like I don't know, I would like find what you're interested in, whether that be like boxing, Muay Thai, wrestling, jiu-jitsu, judo. Just like pick one, and then just like slowly get into that, and then eventually branch out into other things, and just like do it for like enjoyment more than anything. I feel like if you do it too intensely, it's hard to like fully enjoy it. And probably best to just like start slow, get the basics, and then like if you want to compete, then slowly like add hours in, so you don't like overload and like injure yourself.
Wait, what do you think is like the most effective martial arts for like a newbie to train? I don't know, like 3 months, and then they get into street fight, hands on hand.
So this is them like instigating a fight.
This is what you were asking about beforehand too. Like you're really into street fighting, apparently, Doth. I
want to keep myself safe, bro.
Never know what happens. Happens where you are. You gotta be careful. But like, I don't know. If you're the one instigating it, I'd say like Muay Thai. Like I don't know, tap them on the shoulder when they turn around, just kick him in the head. You'll probably win.
Yeah, so maximize kicks, right?
Yeah, or do judo and just like start flipping cunts in the street. Just like flip them on the head. That's always an option.
When I was watching your MMA fight, like I said, you were going against a long lad, and so he was taller than you, and I'm also like I'm 6'2". I live with like I live with a 5'5" Mexican woman though, and she's recently been like working out, and she's been getting pretty strong, and she's been taking out some, like we'll be walking down the hall together, and she'll just like shoulder bump me. I mean, it's my wife, so it's like it's okay, but I'm starting to feel threatened. So it's like,
you want to flip her?
Yeah, like what just in case I need it. What sort of techniques could I use as a long lad going against somebody a little bit shorter?
So what do you want to achieve with this? Do you want to like
self-protection? Like, it's all about protection, but sometimes I need to be the one instigating the fight in order to protect myself. You know what I mean? Sometimes. Do
you want like a finishing move or just like like subdue her a bit so you don't get knocked out?
Man, there's options. Okay.
Of course, depends on how you want to approach this.
Let's go with like pure fatality, like just in case I need.
I'd say just like if she's coming walking towards you, just like post out with one hand and just go over the top with the cross and like flatline. That's probably
can we walk through those motions again? That was you just stick your arm, You stick your arm out.
You get your palm and post on her forehead to like keep the distance while you're walking backwards, and then you like Conor McGregor like over the top, straight strike. And then
Yo.
That-
Wait,
That'll
left
work on-
jab, right jab.
I'm left-handed, so I suppose if you're
Oh.
right-handed, you post with your left hand and over the top like that. That'll work on anyone shorter than you. So if I ever see you in person and like
yeah, because
I'm like, you know,
you're like
if you're
5'7",
bad-
so you,
yeah.
yeah.
And
So
if I'm like running at you, just do that. Just post on my head and over the top, and you put me out.
that's did you just give away the secret to beating you in a MMA fight? Is that your crypto?
No.
Yeah,
Noted.
that's the secret. Do that. Everyone should do that if they fight me.
Okay.
Yo. On to the next question, actually. Talk about fights. If you could pick anybody in the Japanese learning community, who would you fight with?
Can I actually say anyone?
Yeah.
Is there anything
Yes.
else I'd say?
You can say a
Okay.
few people if you
We
want.
censor pretty heavily here on the Deep Weeb podcast, but we'll let you have this
Yeah.
one. Yeah.
Deep
Oh,
normie.
thank I'm so happy. That's right. Correct yourself, mate. You can't be calling deep weed. Let's see. Who is there?
No, there's me and Doth. Doth left.
Well,
Like
I'm not.
Nuke Marine or QM.
No, he's too old, Luke Breed. He can't like. I feel bad if I fought him.
Right.
I reckon I'd take on what's Matt and Ken as a tag team, just like me on like 2-on-1.
Yourself?
Jazzy wanted that
Yeah.
too.
Just a bit of a, you know, like probably like just a bit of a challenge, because like I'd have to think about strategies of like how I'm gonna like approach that, because it's like you've got like the little one in front of him running at you, and the big boy at the back swinging. You know,
Yo. You think you could win?
I don't know. Ken, how big's Ken? He looks pretty big. He might just like suplex me or something. I don't know.
It might all be camera angle tricks, though. He might be very small.
Right.
We don't know.
I mean, does he know MMA though? He could just
That's
be a
the
big
question.
sitting duck. For
We'll
me.
see. We'll have to set this up and find out
Alright.
next time on
Yo.
the Big Week podcast. That's
And what about
what's gonna
Jazzy, dude?
Jazzy,
Think about it.
well, I mean, if it was boxing, he'd probably fucking knock me out, to be honest. But like, if it's MMA, yeah, sure. But how big's he? He's probably like a bigger weight class than me, I reckon, by quite a bit.
He looked at least 7 feet tall.
Yeah.
I thought he was about 8 feet, to be honest. Like, he just looked like he probably is the size of like a Greek statue.
It's the face, dude. It's too Chad.
It's
So.
the
It
jaw. I
really
can't, like-
was, yeah.
Yeah.
I was actually fully surprised at that. I was like, wow, this guy's actually just like a proper Chad. I can't compete with this anymore. I just got to delete my channel at this point. He's taken my role.
Yo.
All right, so so I'd like to transition us to health and habits. But before that, we have a serious transition question. Now, the boys from the Language Gains Discord server, they really came through with questions on this last one.
Oh, did they?
Yeah. So here's one of the questions that they had from you. This is from Gur, 2 R's. Did removing your hair get rid of the worldly distractions and enable you to focus more on the important tasks?
Of course. How else would I learn Japanese if I had hair? Like, if you've got hair, it slows you down, like your progress by like at least 50%.
This is something
mean,
measurable.
Be realistic. Look at Matt versus Japan when he was in his peak alpha mode. He had no hair.
That is true.
He had even less hair than me because he was balding a little bit.
So
So
how are you gonna call out a man balding? This is just a comb over. I'm trying to get those language gains as well. So this is all comb
shave
over.
your head.
Okay, that's there. You heard
That's
it,
the
guys.
secret. You become like a Japanese like monk, and you can like you're all good to go.
I might actually do that.
If you shave your head, mate, honestly, you gotta. I'll give you
I mean,
myself
like,
at that
if you
point.
think about it, right? The aerodynamics of hair. If you lose the hair, you'll move faster, right?
Exactly.
Is-
How else are you gonna like
Less
engage in your street?
friction. Yeah.
It's
Like, you
also
seem to
for
be very into
cooling.
the street.
I mean, think about something that's
My favorite
overclocked. If you're overclocking your brain to learn 2 languages, you need more cooling power, and the hair is just going to slow you down.
Especially since I'm not very intelligent, so it like heats up very quickly.
So that's
Whoa.
where I'll stop you. So we have a rocket scientist on this call, and you're apparently a brain neurologist, neuroscientist,
Doing your neuroscience.
neuroscience. So, I mean, how'd you get into that?
I tried engineering and I was like too dumb, so I just like switched to neuroscience.
You said, oh, engineering's too
You would
hard. I
think
guess
that,
I'll do.
but like engineering students don't want to enter neuroscience.
Yeah.
They're too dumb for that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. No,
I-
engineering's hard.
Have you just started? How long have you been aiming for that?
I'm in my like, what is it, like second, third year this year.
Yeah, is it?
It's like third year of uni, but second year of neuroscience.
Are you liking it?
No,
Bruh.
but I'm getting through it.
So
I mean, you're on your way to be a pro MMA, so
Yeah.
fighter.
We'll see. Let's hope I don't get knocked out now that I've revealed my secrets.
Is that kind of like life plan? Is that kind of like your backup plan, even though it's like the main, I don't know, like main normie career?
Yeah, it's like the main like stable career, but
Yeah.
like
Right.
it's yeah, I don't know. I would rather obviously do like what I really enjoy, which is MMA, but who knows even if I have like the capacity to do that.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I've won one fight, but what if I like lose my next 6? Like, what do I do at that point?
You win
Kinda
the
have to
next
give up.
one.
Hey, that's the
Right.
secret. Just don't give up until you've got brain damage.
I mean,
Yeah.
that is kind of interesting. I mean, is there any relation to that, like you going into MMA and also having, you know,
I suppose
yeah.
in some ways, like I thought it'd be interesting to like look at like, you know, traumatic brain injuries and stuff, like studying neuroscience. But yeah, there's not a huge connection there, to be honest. It's just like a coincidence.
I mean, you certainly haven't solved
Yeah.
it all in your first, 2 or 3 years, so there's still time.
Nah, I
Aussieman.
still don't barely anything. Still getting there.
So another part of like health and habits, one of the things that you had mentioned in your videos is that this is something that we shared. You also at one point had really awful sleep habits, and it didn't help your Japanese language acquisition. Similar to
all.
myself. That was like my first episode here on the Deep Normie podcast. Was talking about sleep habits, actually, because I found it to be that fundamental. I thought it was that important. So what have you found?
I just feel like it kind of like forms the basis of everything you do in your life, having like normal sleeping patterns. Because like when I was like doing like trying to study for the JLPT, I was like going like, it was like the dumbest schedule. I'd like get home from school, crash for like a few hours, get up and then study till like 5 a.m, then sleep 3 hours and get up for school, and then just like do that on repeat until like my bones and like joints started like really aching and I had to stop and like sleep one night properly.
So it was physical for you, like it was you were actually seeing physical consequences.
Yeah,
of
well,
the
because
lack
I
of
was such an idiot, I didn't sleep at all. But I kept that up consistently for months, and then like I lost like a huge amount of weight as well, and like just became super unhealthy. But you know, even still now, like I notice like if you're trying to do something not only physical but like mental, like with the MMA and studying, if you don't have like good sleeping patterns, it's just all kind of falls apart. Like your recovery goes away, and as well your like memory formation will just like be terrible. Is
What
I
does it
find.
look like now? Your sleeping habits.
I mean, I just kind of like try and sleep at like 10:30ish, and then get up at like 6:30, 6 o'clock. So it's nothing crazy.
Perfect 8 hours. Yeah.
I try to make it 8 hours.
So Doth, you, I believe, had some wild sleeping habits from what I remember. Like you're not an 8-hour sleep kind of guy, if I remember right.
No, I've always been like 6, 7 maybe at best. If it was like exam week, I'd have 5. Now it's like Ramadan, so I'm fasting, and I have the choice of like sleeping at 10, waking up at 3, or sleeping at 3 and waking up at 9. So never had 8 hours, to be honest.
Really?
Have you ever tried? Is that just like something you're not able to do?
I've
You don't
tried.
like it,
And like
or?
the one time I tried was on like a weekend, right? I slept for 8, but I wanted to sleep for 8. I ended up sleeping for like 10 hours, and I ended up being more tired than I was before I slept, which is crazy.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I've recently.
I mean, I suppose that's good though. If you can like, if you're functioning like a peak with like less hours, that's pretty good.
That was my thought. Like when I was doing like I was like going to bed at 3 and then getting up at 8, and then by like 8:39 I was like at work like hacking away at stuff because like that's my job. So my what I noticed is after doing it for like, I don't know, over a year, it was before it was like a full year. Like I started noticing that like just like keeping coherent thoughts going like in a conversation or something like this, honestly, was started to be like difficult. Like I would just like lose my train of thought, like that sort of thing. So for me, it was like a very mental thing. Like I didn't see any like physical consequences of it. I was like, oh, my body seems to be handling 5 hours just fine. I keep doing it. But it was not pleasant as far as trying to learn new things and also trying to speak. I found it just wasn't, I wasn't able to articulate myself very clearly, even less so than now. So that's saying something. So with that in mind, like I started like reading, like, I don't know, I think it was called like the Sleep Revolution book, and in that they were citing some things where basically if you have between that like 6 to 8 hours is kind of the sweet spot, and if you start to go below that, like it can have like brain damage consequences, things like also just more likely to get into like car accidents and that sort of thing. So just like your reaction to things in real time tends to be thrown off quite a bit. So it's like, yeah, wow, while you might be gaining back a few hours, it just didn't feel like those hours were as productive as literally doing nothing and sleeping. So that's kind of where I landed with it. Does that pretty much match with your experience there, Aussieman, or anything else?
Pretty much, exactly, yeah. Just, yeah, the only difference is obviously that, like, the physical and mental kind of side of things, like the symptoms of, like, undersleeping.
Yeah. To be fair, I wasn't actually doing, like, any exercise at that time either, so that's pretty awful, but that has changed. I'm a fit boy now. Yeah.
Neither was I then, so
Oh, okay.
I guess. Yeah.
So, maybe we can talk a little bit about, I think this will come up again when we start talking maybe a little bit more specifically about age adding, but what do you see as being like a healthy language learning mentality?
I really think it depends on like what your goals with it is. I still
Right.
really think that, like, obviously you've got like people that want to like fully master the language and get like, you know, as good as physically possible, and then people that just like do it just for like the enjoyment of learning it.
Mhm.
And I feel like the schedules then will like be pretty like drastically different. Obviously, if you want to get, you know, really, really good at anything, you've got to put the majority of, you know, the majority of your free time into that every day to get to like a high level of that, and essentially be competitive with other people who are trying to reach a high level of that. So I feel like even if you're looking at like a healthy kind of amount, I'd say like just you know, work, just do your work, study or whatever, sleep like a good amount, but don't try and like maximize like how many hours can I do today of like immersion and try and get it to like 12 hours or something crazy. Just like get, you know, 5 or 6, but like really good quality immersion hours, I'd say. And that'd be like ideal, in my opinion, to reach a high level with like while maintaining like a healthy sort of lifestyle with some sort of balance in it, where you're not like going full age out, where you just like quit your life and then, you know, try and master a language.
Yeah, I mean, that's what do you with the age at lifestyle, like what do you see as being the issues there?
Giving up a social life and is probably the biggest one. Like I feel like anyone who's like done that traditional sort of age out thing of just like, I'm just gonna like only do this now and just like go straight into that, because you're like so obsessed with like one thing, you almost lose the ability, I feel like, to connect with like your friends, because all of your hobbies and interests become like surrounded by like, they just become, you know, that language and like stuff in that language. So it almost becomes harder to like relate to other people around you because you're so involved in that. And rather than, you know, hanging out with them or doing something like that, you just go, oh no, I want to keep, you know, focusing and studying this and getting better. And so you kind of like become disconnected with other people around you and then become socially isolated, I think is by far the worst thing.
Right. It isolates you from your own culture, so that's one thing. So if you don't already have the connections with the other culture that you're connecting with, that's potentially problematic. What about you, Doth?
Me? To be honest, I would say that Because that depends though, because there's like a few people who have like kind of given up on their life and have moved on to the Discord life, to say the least, right?
Yeah.
So like, they're the shut-ins, they're learning Japanese, and they find, I don't know, solitude. They find like happiness with interacting with other, Japanese learners. So that might be interesting. What do you think about that, actually, Harry?
I don't know. I suppose
Escapism, I guess.
different people like different things, so it's hard to like judge other people when you're not them. So like for me, I just know that would be like really shit and like really bad. Like I just couldn't enjoy it, like, my life being like that. Like I'd rather, I feel like you can't really replace connections that you have with like people in real life where you become close friends with them and stuff like that. But I could be wrong because I've never dealt with.
This is what the VNs are for, man. To simulate friendships, relationships, dating, so that you don't have to in real life. You can just simulate it all.
Yeah, that's so smart. I should have been doing that, honestly. I would have been such a better idea.
Have you tried it?
No. Would you like to introduce me on how I can do that? Simulate all the areas of my life so I can just give up?
Maybe I wouldn't.
I would like to keep this the deep normie one, so
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Right. We won't get into that then, I guess.
We might have to circle back on it at some point. So so Pixel Parker asks, your pre-workout. First off, when are you going to release it? And second off, will it be high test? If you could just explain for us all, the real normies, what is high test first off?
So high test means like high testosterone. So it's like the degree to which you are a male. That's obviously what it means. That's the meaning of it.
Here I thought it was just like JLPT scores. Okay.
It's close. Like they directly correlate.
Okay.
But like the better you get in Japanese.
High score, high test, yeah.
Yeah. That's exactly it. By high score, they mean high test score.
Yeah, I mean, Jazzy is like literally testosterone, right? The score. And what?
Exactly. Where do you think the jawline comes from? Where do you think that came from?
You heard it from the brain scientists, people.
Exactly. Trust me. Your brain just secretes testosterone from the pineal gland when you get 100% of the JLPT and your jaw expands and you grow like a sick beard. It's just how the world works. So that's what high test is. And so once I hit 100,000 subscribers, I'm gonna create some high test pre-workout so I can just scam all my whales. And
you already have a whale scam planned out. Okay.
Of course. What else would I
take us down what you would do for these whales? That was actually one of the questions.
Give them pre-workout so they can get mad gains in the gym and in Japanese.
What is a pre-workout? What are we talking about?
So
here?
It's like a powder, right? Not the powder you're thinking of, mate. Like be careful here. But and you like put it in a water, yeah, and you like mix it up, and it's got caffeine and like things to give you like a better pump in the gym. And you drink it and you get a lot of energy, right?
It sounds like Kool-Aid. This sounds like Kool-Aid so far. Are you trying to sell us Kool-Aid?
Hey. You better not be like exposing my secrets here, okay? Yeah. Otherwise, we're gonna have a problem.
Okay, starting to get aggressive, guys.
You've already exposed one secret, right?
You're like really exposing me too much here.
I'm just trying to have a conversation about the Kool-Aid you're selling people. All right.
Yeah, it's cool. It's Kool-Aid with caffeine. That's the secret.
Caffeinated Kool-Aid.
And, yeah, that's what it is, and that's how you get good at Japanese. Okay. That's my secret. That's what I'm gonna provide.
Okay.
What do you think
about testosterone?
Would you buy that?
Sounds amazing. I would, yeah.
Exactly.
Wait, you said 1,000?
100,000. Sorry, I mean 100 million.
Yo, dude.
Yeah, that's what you said originally. 100 million. Right. Okay.
No, I just made a mistake initially. I mean 100 million. That's the next milestone.
Seems doable, yeah. Definitely.
Well, obviously.
So, besides doping, are there any other tips you have for improving focus and concentration?
No, no, there is.
That is only the one.
Only drugs, guys.
Only extreme caffeine doping with my Kool-Aid. No, it's honestly, sleep is the biggest thing, I think.
Sleep.
Like it kind of goes back to that, and as well, having like a clear goal when you're doing something, I feel like helps. like just like before you go and do something, you like set like a clear goal, what you want to achieve through what you're doing, and I feel like that helps you focus on it. At least for me, it did, because I feel like if you just like, say for instance, you like want to learn Japanese and you're just like watching, you're just doing whatever, and you don't really know what it does and what it's for. I feel like it's almost more hard to focus on it than say like, you might be like, I'm reading to improve my vocabulary and like get better at reading. You know what I mean? Like just some simple thing like that. If you have that in mind, even, I feel like, and that's a goal that you want to achieve, I feel like that makes it a lot easier to focus on it.
So having the long-term goal in mind, is that
just a clear purpose. I don't think it matters if it's short or long. Just some sort of like clear purpose when you're doing something, and like sleep a lot and drink lots of caffeine. That's the secret.
Gotcha. Doth, you got any secrets to share with us on that front? Focus.
Gotta have
I don't want to give my secrets, to be honest.
Oh,
Okay.
Yeah.
that sounds a bit sus, mate. What you want? You've been doping too, have you?
Yo, I gotta keep it a secret from my whales, bro. Later on.
I think
Of course.
I think
When you start your YouTube channel and hit
Yeah.
100 million subscribers.
we're gonna have to start getting blood tests with these JLPT scores.
I can't do that. I'm sorry. I'm not agree to that.
Okay. So yeah, people refusing to do their blood tests before the JLPT. Okay. So next question. Koinefer asks, I'd like to know Aussieman's view on opportunity cost of learning a language like Japanese. That is to say, if the person could be doing other things to improve their material conditions, is the multi-thousand-hour grind worth it? What has the opportunity cost been, and has it been worth it?
For me, it's been worth it because I really only like sacrificed like a year or 2 years of like proper hardcore learning of it. But I feel like it really does have like diminishing returns after the first few years, depending on what you want it for, of course. Like for me, I feel like because I didn't have like some goal that required a very high level of Japanese, there was no point for me to like get past a certain level.
Yeah.
Like I feel like I've got to like a relatively high level of just, like everyday kind of casual speaking and that sort of thing. And I feel like there's no need for me to branch out into other areas because I just won't use it. So I feel like if I were to spend thousands of hours developing skills to, say pass like, all those kanji tests and stuff, it's like, yeah, I'd be better at Japanese, but it'd be like, what am I going to use that for? Like, does that improve my life or anything? And I feel like if you just learn Japanese, like, so you know how you get those people that say, I just want to be native level, and they've got no reason why they'd want to be. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
me.
see
Yeah,
people
yeah.
that like, yeah, of course. And like, but you're already native level, so that's a different story.
I do have
And
the
like,
Nihonjin rule.
Because
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And you bought my Kool-Aid, so
Nihonjin.
But
yeah.
yes. But I feel like when you get these people that like from day one they're like, I'm going to be native level, and they think they can they plan on sacrificing like thousands and thousands of hours for it for no particular reason. I feel like it's a bit, in my opinion, it's a bit of a waste of time when you could be doing something that's like improving your life.
That goes back to actually having a goal with where you're going, right?
Yeah, I just feel like it's really based on that. So if you have like a reason why you want to get really good and you feel like that's going to really improve your life and get you to different state, like, even in terms of like enjoyment, like if it's going to improve your life purely by the fact of giving you a hobby and, making you enjoy yourself, I still think that's a reasonable goal. It doesn't have to be like goals like I want to be like, I don't know, like a CEO of a company or some shit like that.
Yeah.
Like I feel like it can be any sort of thing, but like, yeah, I feel like it is a huge opportunity cost to like learn a language and spend thousands of hours in it if you're trying to get to that super high level of it. So I think it's good to consider why you're doing it initially and think of, maybe should I just like put in less time, have it take longer, and also do something that's going to like improve my life, like day-to-day life.
Interesting. Actually, regarding that, like if you could switch your hours in Japanese with anything else, like any other skill, what would that be?
I don't think I would, honestly. Like I really am happy with how like I feel like, at least with the level I'm at, I feel like I haven't really wasted too much. I wouldn't like take it back. I don't regret it like whatsoever. So
Damn.
I probably just keep it the way it is. Like, because I only really spent like that first year or 2 years like really grinding it out, and then after that it was just like casually talking to friends and like watching YouTube. So I don't know. I didn't do the whole like 10-year AJAC grind like some people do. So if I did that, maybe I would have like repurposed it into something.
Right. Oh, so like, are you saying that if you're 1 year in and you haven't really gained anything, you should just stop? Is that way to see it?
No, I don't mean stop, but like if you feel like you haven't gained anything and you're using huge amounts of hours in it, maybe it'd be good to like slow it down a bit and do something else at the same time. Keep that going. Don't like give up on it, but just, you know, just take it down a notch and like also do something that's going to like also give you purpose and meaning in your life. Because I feel like once you get good at Japanese and use it to do other things, that's where the meaning comes from.
Right.
In learning it. Like the reason I don't regret it is because of all the experiences and stuff I've had since learning it. Not purely because of the fact that now I can speak it. Like that part, it doesn't really mean too much. But the fact that I learned it and in the process had all these different experiences and met all different people, that's what made it really worth it for me. So I feel like, I don't know, if you're not getting that sort of fulfillment out of it and you feel like you're making no progress, but you're dedicating huge amounts of hours, maybe it'd be good to like tone it down a bit and also do something else that like is, you know, gives you some sort of like progress in life as well. I don't know. That's just my opinion though.
Damn the wisdom.
Doth, what about you? You taking all those kanji tests? You got a purpose with those?
Yeah, I mean, I'm taking them to differentiate myself when I, apply for a job. But honestly, if I wasn't going to do that, I think it's kind of useless, in all honesty.
Fair enough.
So, related to that, Arcano asks, what about, so you said you wouldn't switch the time for anything, but what about like money, monetizable skills? Like, is there no better way you could spend it than a language, you think? Like, what if you could trade it for a stack of cash?
Oh, no, I don't think I would, because like, for me, at least personally in my life, like at the point where I'm trying to make a career out of being an MMA fighter, that's when, I'm not valuing money too much, because that's like the most dead end job.
Really? Is it? Like, I wouldn't know.
Unless you're Conor McGregor. Like, unless you're like world champion, yeah. But I don't know. I value in my life personally experiences over huge amounts of money. So like, I feel like the experiences and the sort of unique experiences you can get from learning a language, like, could potentially, depending on who you are, like outweigh the amount of money you would have made through like learning monetizable skills. If that, like, I feel that's the same thing for me. Like MMA, like, unless I get to like top 10 in the world, you don't really make much money or any money off of it. So like for example, for my last fight, I made $30. So like,
yo,
they paid you, but it was $30. Okay, wow.
Yes. So it's like you don't really make much money, but the experiences you get from that, like, you can't get that anywhere else in life other than putting in those hundreds of hours. So I don't know. For me, I feel like I wouldn't trade it for a monetizable skill, just because of the fact that I just want to have like as many like kind of like unique and sort of like crazy experiences in my life as I can. Just because I feel like that adds meaning to my life more than money, personally.
That's good. I feel like I probably took a very safe route in life. Like, went to school first, got my stable career, and then was like, okay, now I'll start like learning Japanese and that sort of thing. And I don't think it was, honestly, it seems like the right decision for me. It gave me like a stable base. But I mean, there aren't times when you think, oh, what if I had just gone full in on Japanese, moved to Japan, blah 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 blah. But I don't know. I guess I'm kind of like, while I've done the opposite, well, not the opposite. The opposite's too strong. While I've kind of focused more on like, how do I get like a financial stable income first?
Yeah.
I don't regret that. I think that was good. But I see a lot of people in the community, particularly like spending a lot of time on Japanese, and then it's just like, well, what are you gonna do once you have this? You know what I mean? It's like, that's one of my concern for the young children watching this is, I mean, what are you gonna do once
the
you
children?
have Japanese?
Yeah,
think of the children.
Yeah.
I mean,
I suppose, yeah. I thought of it kind of in the context that you'd be at the same time doing something.
Yeah.
But if you actually have no job, sitting at home just learning Japanese, it's probably pretty stupid. Like, honestly,
right.
it's probably not a good idea. So I agree with you on that. At least you got to have something. Like even with me, like taking like somewhat of a risky path, I'm still in uni doing stuff.
Right.
Like I'm not like, completely just like gone crazy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I feel like you got to have some sensibility still. You can't.
Yeah, this
just,
actually reminds me of like a girl I just met recently here in Japan. This is kind of off topic, but like, so she's married. She's from Albania, and she's like a top manager of like a company, right? HRD manager, human resource development, for like 10 years. And she suddenly came to Japan without knowing the language. And she like said to herself, I want to learn cooking. I like Japanese cooking, so I'll come to Japan to learn Japanese. You know, very risky. I have no idea why she did that. But she said, right, because she took her master's in language. She speaks 7 languages, you know, a lot of languages. Japanese not included. But when she came here, she couldn't do anything because like Japanese, they don't speak English. Everything's in kanji. And then it came to the part where like I helped her out, of course, but she kind of regretted coming to Japan because like the only thing that was, you know, helping her to stay here was that she wanted to learn how to cook. But like she gave up her whole job, her whole like career to come to Japan on a whim, essentially. So, you know, don't do that.
I mean, it's
that's
the whole follow your passion mindset. Like it's one thing to like, if you just don't have any backup plan, like I feel like you're setting yourself up for a very potentially rocky road that has probably more risks than most people are going to be able to handle easily, honestly.
I agree. Especially like you see, like even in the context of MMA, right? You hear of all these people like who've already made it, and they say like, "Oh, you know, I threw it, you know, like took all the risk, and I like had no backup plan, and just fully focused in on this, and look at me." But it's like the only reason you see that is because you don't see all the other people who failed at that and gave up everything.
Survivor bias or something.
Survivor bias.
Yeah. That, I feel like that's a huge thing. Like you see a lot of that, I think.
Well, that got heavy.
Yeah. Let's go back to some light stuff, I guess.
Sure.
Right? Yeah. So, you said that you've never, or wait, do you not actually like go into Weeb stuff? You know, coming back, circling. Anime, manga,
What do you mean by, like,
visual
not going
novels, light novels.
Specifically, the question: any deep Weeb materials? Which I just want to shout out to. What was it? Smarlitos. Like, thank you. Like, keep using that. It's gonna catch on. Well, not now that we rebranded the podcast. But anyways,
of course
deep Weeb materials. So yeah, like Doth was saying, anime, manga. I've seen your channel. You like anime, but what else?
Oh
Anything
yeah,
else?
isn't that evident? Isn't that just completely? I don't know. Just never really been like too interested in it.
Yeah.
Like I tried like reading manga, but like I'm just like I don't know. I don't really enjoy sitting down and reading, even like in English or anything. So I've always been more of like an audiobook person. So
have you branched out to audiobooks yet? Have you tried those?
I honestly don't know where to get them in Japanese. I've tried to look on YouTube, but like I can't find anything. So if you know where like there's good resources, I would love that.
Okay, like you do. Okay, so on the audiobook topic, like they have like free ones on YouTube, but those are usually pretty awful.
That's why I have really listened to them.
A couple Discord servers have links to the legal resources to them, which I will gladly share with you. So what about other like endeavors related to like audio? So you don't do audiobooks, but you've been pretty into podcasts, right?
Yeah, I was I listen to podcasts heaps, like because like I do a lot of just like walking around like after and before school and stuff. Because like when I really like was like mainly immersing, I was in like year 12, so like my final year of high school. So there was a lot of like walking to school, from school, around, you know, whenever. So whenever I wasn't like talking to my friends or like doing something, I just have like a podcast in and just like listening to like some random podcast and just like, I don't know. I tried to keep it like as unscripted as possible just because I thought that made the most sense. And yeah, just listen to podcasts all the time, like walking around and stuff. And on the topic again, sorry, like take it back to on the deep Weeb content.
Yeah.
The only thing I actually watched is like when I was in like high school, I think like year 11, I watched like Attack on Titan, like the first season or first 2 seasons maybe.
Yeah.
And when I was like a kid, I like read like 3 mangas of Death Note. That's about it though.
Wow.
Wow.
That's not that much.
I had no idea what
Definitely
manga
not,
was.
yeah.
What
Because I
did you
was,
think
like-
about Attack
like-
on Titan?
It was good.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty good. Like that kind of stuff, like the whole memeing on anime thing, obviously is like just a bit of a joke.
Mhm.
Because half of it is like pretty cracked, not gonna lie, but like that kind of stuff, I mean, I don't know. It's never been my thing to just like sit down and watch TV shows in general. So that's maybe why I never got into it.
Gotcha. Yeah.
But it's not bad. Like I thought it was pretty good.
Right. But do you think that you've maybe sacrificed a bit of like your reading ability to, you know, be more fluent in like speaking, listening?
Yes, of course. You know, like it's obviously you make a sacrifice. Like you can't be good at everything. You know what I mean? Like you know, just like the way in which like you learning kanji and like reading and stuff would have like if you put 100% of that time into speaking, you'd be like the best ever at speaking. You know what I mean? Like there's
Right.
always going to be like sort of a sacrifice there where you choose to like where you're going to put your time and energy into. But for me,
Right,
like
right.
I can read easily still. Like I can pick up a book and read it fine. So like I don't know. Like I said, I don't really read in general, so in English, so it's never really bothered me. So the fact that I like possibly had to sacrifice that skill, I say possibly because I haven't done the extent of reading to know how much or little I can read. You know what I mean? Like, so the extent of reading I do is like some non-fiction books, like science books, like physics and stuff, because I like that. And then obviously, you know, Twitter, Instagram, websites, all that stuff.
So is most of the reading that you're doing, would you say it's coming from like actual people, like texting and that sort of thing?
Normie channels, yeah.
No, yeah, sure. If you want to call it.
Sounds so degrading when you say it like that.
I feel like
Normie
disgusting when I
channels.
yeah. Yeah, but I suppose so. Yeah, like websites and stuff.
Okay,
And you know,
so you do
hundreds of JIV.
You do read those, but like, have you actually read through like an entire like book at this point with your Japanese?
Yeah, but like very few.
Very few. Okay.
Yeah. Like, do you know Nanimono?
I don't.
Is that like a novel?
Yeah, it's just a normal novel. It won a few awards and stuff. There's like a movie about it on it as well. And like my friend gave it to me, so I read that. But that was pretty cool. And then what else?
We'll have to post that one. I don't know that one.
There was another one I read through, like a full Stephen Hawking book. I don't know if that counts. Japanese.
It's in Japanese, yeah.
Dense, right?
Yeah, it's dense, but I like physics, so like I don't know. It's I mean, I'm sure you know. Like if you know the content in English, it's not too bad when you just learn the Japanese equivalent of all of it.
So I have a little bit. I have a scenario for you. Okay, we've got. Let's say we got this famous YouTuber. Okay, and he's out there saying, you know, input and output both are really important. If you just completely ignore output and you're only doing input, I mean, you're missing out on like half the language, right? Okay. And then the same person says, okay, there's listening and there's reading, but reading's pretty lame, guys. Like, I'm not into it. What would you say to this guy? Does it sound like maybe he's missing out on like a quarter of the language there? Like maybe there's some culture that he's missing out on? Like what would you say to this guy, Harry?
I'd say sounds like I'm looking in a mirror. But
what?
I don't know, like the thing that I feel like is like it depends, like what is your goal of again learning Japanese? Do I care if I'm missing out on some culture?
Right.
Like if you do, you should probably read, is the way I would think about it. But if you don't, then who cares?
Is
like,
would you say it's the same
either.
for like output versus input? Like if you really don't care about outputting, don't waste your time with it.
Well, if you don't want to output, then why output? It seems kind of like counterintuitive.
All right.
Yeah.
That
it's the same thing. If you don't
reasonable.
care about listening, why would you listen? But if you just want to,
solid reason.
Yeah, actually, on the topic of language as a skill, or like as this question asks, a meta skill, do you think you would ever immerse in like academics, like physics or like your studies? Do you think you can transfer those language learning skills?
I feel like there is like a lot you can learn about it, like in terms of like knowing that to reach a high level of anything, you have to be to some extent kind of obsessed with it in a way, like where you turn all of your surroundings and like everything you interact with on a day-to-day basis into that topic. So like essentially completely submerging yourself into that field or topic or whatever really would allow you to pick up that skill better because of the kind of obsession with it. And you hear it especially talked about in like sports. Like people say like you have to be obsessed with it
right
to get to a certain level. Like you kind of have to just like age at essentially in the sport to get to that super high level. And not only that, I feel like the discipline and you learn through doing AJAT, you kind of have to learn how to structure days in a way, how to like get in enough input, output, and like all different things. Like you learn how to structure days in a way to be efficient, and as well like you learn how to be disciplined enough to know what the most efficient thing is to do every day and still do it every single day, even though it's not super enjoyable. So I think in that way is really useful because you can apply that to essentially every other area in life. If you want to become good in a certain skill, you can just take that discipline and all of that and apply it to that, I feel like.
So on that topic of like fully immersing yourself in it, have you found so this is, I'm not sure if I did this because I was just coping or what, but like when I was doing programming in, I don't want to say programming in Japanese because it's still all in English, like programming as like languages are always in English pretty much. So when I was working in Japan, like while I would be speaking to everybody in Japanese, like if I ever needed to like do something like look it up, there's just so many more resources for that in English. It was like, despite me still really wanting to like do all Japanese all the time, I kind of coped and was just like, yeah, it doesn't seem like this is worth transferring over. Have you run into anything like that in your Japanese? Am I just coping? What do you think, Harry?
I don't think you're coping. I think it's just like people take all Japanese all the time too literally.
Too literally.
Like, yeah, like when you say it's like actually all the time, that's just a bit like, it's a bit too much. Like if you're making sacrifices like that, like where you're not going to access like high quality information, it's just like not very smart move in my opinion. Like for instance, say I want to learn like this is one thing I suppose I have encountered is learning like new techniques and stuff for MMA. There's like instructional videos essentially explaining techniques and things like that, and it's like on each sort of like position essentially they have like full 8-hour segments explaining every little individual thing about that position, and it's done by world champions, and that's only in English. Like you can't access that in Japanese. And so when I was like wanting to learn these skills, instead of going and trying to learn it in Japanese and sacrificing the degree to which I developed as an athlete, I'd do it in English anyway, because you're just being inefficient otherwise, in my opinion. And like I don't know, I just feel like you don't need to do it all day, every day for it to get still super significant results, in my opinion. So I don't know.
You have to be somewhat pragmatic about it, right? Yeah, exactly.
Well, yeah, you can't be like it's a bit over the top, I think. If you get like 6 hours of like active immersion a day, you're going to get pretty good, mate. Like, I don't know. I feel like once you get past that, it's like, how much are you really focusing? Can you focus for more than 6 hours a day on a different language? Is one thing I would question, but maybe some people can. I couldn't, but yeah.
What about you, Doth, on the topic of, I know you mentioned you're still taking classes, like a lot of your classes are still in English. Is that also what you found? Like, are some things worth doing in Japanese and others not? Or
Yeah, I've kind of found a balance. I would like to say a balance, but it's kind of forced, to be honest, because my classes are in English, my textbooks are in English, I read papers in English, and if I want to like submit anything to like a journal, it's going to be in English, of course. Like I could make a Japanese paper, but then you could only submit to like a national journal, and it wouldn't get much recognition, not really effective. But my lab, I'm the only foreigner there, so everything is in Japanese. It's kind of weird because like sometimes they'd use the English term for things, sometimes they'd use the Japanese term, and so I use like English as katakana words while trying to explain something. But like if on the offhand I know the Japanese, I might use it. So yeah, I do feel that like at least with academics, using English is always the better route. Yeah, much more resources, much more recognition. I think it's like easier to understand actually. I mean, like regardless of your ability in the language, I think it's just easier to understand academics in English. Might just be my take, but
so that pretty much matches up with what we were saying, that there's not only being pragmatic, but also being effective in your actual field. Seems like English is kind of the place
definitely,
to be for that.
But yeah, I mean, I guess we should stop with the kind of heavy topics and up to the more the important stuff, the juicy things that everyone wants to know.
Let's get the energy back up. All right, Doth, take us in.
So to the next kind of section about output, what everyone wants to know, the very serious questions from Kirisu. Aussieman, teach us how to get a Japanese girlfriend.
Okay. So the first secret is, I feel like anyone that's been in Japan, like for like even like a few weeks, has kind of noticed this. But like the real secret is speak really bad Japanese and just go to clubs every day and try and like pick up girls with really bad Japanese and just look for the ones that like look like they're trying the hardest to look American, and you'll succeed.
It's that easy, guys.
It's that easy. Give up on Japanese. That's the quickest way.
And
dye your hair blonde.
That's very counterintuitive, but very believable.
No, but seriously, like I honestly feel like that's the truth. Don't even like, because they don't care about your Japanese ability. The one, like, to be honest, like there's a lot of like kaigai kabure that will like just want you to be like as foreign as possible. Like, yeah. Like I had a girl that I was talking to in Japan once tell me that like she didn't want me to get a better Japanese accent because I'd sound less foreign, and I was like, what? And I realized that like she refused to tell me like the correct way to say stuff because she wanted me to speak badly to maintain my foreigner accent.
What they don't want you to know about pitch accent.
Exactly.
Wow.
They don't want you to know.
Wow.
So if you want to get a Japanese girlfriend, just quit Japanese or like just learn a few words and you'll be set, and dye your hair blonde and tell everyone you're American. That's what I do.
That's what I do.
That was my secret.
Stop with the accents, bro. No pitch accent, right?
Put
no
on a worse accent.
Okay.
That's the secret.
I mean, why is that? Are they just gaijin hunters?
That's what I'm saying. Target those people.
Okay.
Target the gaijin hunters, and it'll be quicker.
Kirisu, let us know how that goes. Yeah.
To get a girlfriend, guys.
Japanese girlfriend in 9 months. That's what I want to hear next.
The new metric. Also, I mean, Kirisu, the other thing is you have to actually like go outside and talk to people too, right? Like that seems like a fundamental step before this. Like,
that's a high hurdle.
No.
I've seen this dude's manga list.
Use hello talk.
I'm calling you out, Kirisu. I know Doth would approve of some of that rom-com stuff you're reading, but wow.
Do you want to like be real specific with it? What's he been watching? What's he been reading?
Go ahead, Doth.
I actually don't know recently, but I do know like a while back he was into those heavy ecchi rom-coms. So
I guess we're just gonna leave it at that. Let the people's minds wander.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
I think we call them out hard enough. All right, you got to go outside and you drop the manga for a couple weeks. Find yourself a gaijin hunter, and then you get. I mean, what do you do from? The rest is history. You get married, you move to Japan, you become Japanese. Boom. All right.
You get perfect pitch accent.
You get perfect pitch accent.
Yeah.
So on the tendencies of output, I mean, we've kind of already drawn the contrast quite a few times of, different people have different goals. Yours have clearly been more output oriented. Do you find that that is like an intrinsic thing with you? Like do you tend to have more extroverted tendencies than introverted tendencies? What do you see in that regard?
Pretty balanced, honestly. Like, I don't know. It depends on the situation. Like,
You see
I
yourself
don't
as
like,
somewhat introverted?
yeah, and somewhat extroverted in some ways too. Like, I'm not the kind of person to like go out heaps, like clubbing and like parties and stuff, because I don't drink or do anything like that. Just kind of like do my own thing. But I still love talking with people, like hanging out in groups and like doing stuff like that. So I suppose it's kind of like a mixture, and like going out, meeting friends and stuff. So like, I suppose in that way, like I suppose that sort of thing could be considered more extroverted. And because of that, I was like more open to just like calling with just like random people constantly online, like on Hello Talk and stuff, and trying to like make friends. And yeah, I suppose that helped being extroverted in that way.
Do you find yourself like when Aussieman goes to recharge his batteries, is it you go out with friends or you stay home and do something on your own, get some alone time?
It's a good question. Probably like both I would enjoy. That's the hard thing. I could do both. They'd both be pretty cool. So
you really are a mix. Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, if I'm like really burnt out and like dead, yeah, alone time would be nice. But like if I'm just like finished like a hard day of like school or you know something like that, I'd want to like go hang out with friends.
Really? Okay, interesting.
Yeah,
because that is what that's what I found is like the definition of introverted versus extroverted. Like, do you enjoy like when you need to recharge the batteries? And I'm definitely like lock myself in the deep weeb cave, like be completely alone. If I'm taking time off work, like it's probably just me sitting in a room alone, because that is bliss. But I see what you're saying too. Like I also, I mean, real life friends, they can be pretty great, right? So
I know, right?
Yeah, it's definitely a balance. What about you, Doth?
Damn, that is kind of hard though, because like I like my alone time, but also, going out with friends, having fun is also a nice thing to do.
So same question. Like when you just finished a hard test, Doth, which one do you go to?
Yeah. If it's like an offline test, so like I meet with friends, I normally go and like have drinks or like eat with them. But if it's like online test, I'm by myself, I go like read a manga or something, just like go to sleep, to be honest.
Okay, another question for you, Doth. Do you feel like that affects what you did with your Japanese and how you were able to get good quickly? Those tendencies with introverted and extroverted? Any correlation there?
I guess for me, because like half of my studies have just been reading. The other half have just been like with obasans and like friends and stuff. So
heavy obasan focus. Wow.
Hold on, wait.
I mean that's how you get your output, right? Talk with the local obasans. Yeah.
I think so. If they're not above 45, I don't talk to them.
Right. Gotta be single mothers, right?
Yeah. What else would you go for?
All right. So next question, talking about output. So Lo asks, how would you describe your comfort level with Japanese versus your native language? And if there's a gap between the two, how much does that affect you keeping conversation going in Japanese? So comfort level in Japanese first. Let's start there.
Spoken level is like the same English and Japanese. Like I feel like no difference really. Just in everyday conversation, it's pretty much the same. That's not to say that I'm just as good at both. I mean, comfort levels is the same. You know what I mean? I'm used to speaking it essentially. Like I'm sure you can find people that will say the same thing who are like absolutely terrible. So I don't know how significant of a thing that is. It's more so probably just because I've like practiced it so much and talked fairly recently. So not recently, like fairly often. So like,
right.
I don't know. I feel fine with that. But if you're talking about like writing stuff, if I'm trying to write something that sounds intelligent, it's not very comfortable. Which is obviously because of a lack of reading, like, obviously. But yeah.
Interesting. Cool. But have you ever had like not really problems with the language, but like the social skill talking with Japanese? Like you can't
In the
really connect
initial
with somebody, or oh yeah,
the initial stages, yeah, but like all my friends now who are Japanese, not all, but most are like Yankee, like they're like Yankee, so like
yeah,
they don't really care about like social norms and stuff, if you know what I mean. They're pretty chill. It's pretty easy. But if I was to try and like connect with like a Japanese salaryman, that'd
yeah.
be pretty, I would imagine, like working in Japan like properly, or like what you're doing being in like a lab or something. I don't know how well I go with that. I'm sure you could. Yeah.
So like so you would say that Yankees are like one of the easiest, I don't know, like entry levels of, I don't know, social cues and stuff. Oh yeah.
Gyaru by far. Surely you know that. You're a bit like
Yeah. I'm scared of Gyarus, to be honest. Not my type.
Oh, they're fun to talk to though. Or like,
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I'd say that's the best entry level, and then you work your way up to the obasan. Do you like just obasan, or do you like obasan as well?
I like both. I mean, like
Yeah.
talking,
How
right?
old
But
can you go?
I guess 60. What are we talking about here? Like friends or like more than friends?
You know what? I would like to know
Let's
about this
go
more
with-
than friends. What are you talking about, Doth?
For more than friends, what's your max?
50 to be honest. I think I've gone on, I wouldn't call them dates, but like we go on a nice dinner, they pay me, I get, free lunch. So
Your mama
I'm sorry. Is this real? Doth,
this
can
is
you admit
real,
to this?
but like I can admit to
Can-
this, but like they're not
can you
admitting to
introduce
like
to this?
the katsu, but like we're just
Yeah, yeah,
friends. We like to eat together,
You're just friends, but you get paid.
Yeah, you said you get paid.
Yes. I mean, I don't get paid to meet them. I get, free lunch, I get presents.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay. Where did you meet
I get
these people?
rice.
Just for future restaurant? Future restaurant?
They're literally a group of obasans who help out foreigners. So like they have like meetings every month.
That sounds a lot
they give,
worse
like-
now.
A lot less worse.
they give, like,
Context
free
is really
stuff.
important,
Yeah.
Doth.
I mean, the thing is, you enter the group. You start off very lightly, aisatsu and stuff. You get some free stuff, and then you know them personally. And when you know them personally, you can, I get like free
You're trying
tickets
to
for,
make
like,
this sound bad
concerts
again,
and
Doth.
It's not as bad as it sounds.
So, let's talk a little bit about popular topic in the Japanese learning community, accents, right? So,
Okay.
I guess first, as far as pitch accent goes, what's your take on it? I think you already denounced it once that if you want a girlfriend, ignore all pitch accent.
Just ignore the language in general.
Just ignore it. So, I mean, what are your thoughts? Your thoughts there? Like, maybe first, walk us through what have you done specifically yourself as far as improving your accent.
Listen a lot and just like make an effort to try and pick out pitch accent when I listen. Like learn the real basics of it, like what it is, some general sort of patterns of it, really basic stuff, and then just try and listen for it. And essentially, I feel like a lot of people when they learn pitch accent, they break away from the whole idea of immersion and go back to like traditional learning for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
So I just thought, well, just learn the basic stuff like you would for grammar, and then just try and pick it up from your immersion. Obviously, that takes a lot longer. Well, I don't know if it takes longer than learning it, like rote learning it, but it takes a long time. But I found that more effective. So I just listened a lot practically and just like learned the basics of it. But that's what I did for it. But I don't think it really matters, your pitch accent, to be honest. Maybe like a little bit. Like, I'm sure it matters, but I don't know. You don't really get much returns for how much time it takes to get good at it, in my opinion. And no one really cares at the end of the day who's Japanese. If they're Japanese, they're not going to care unless it's like really bad.
I mean, were there any points where you did get feedback on your own accent, and was that positive, negative? Like, what have the reactions to your accent been, if any?
Within about like 9 months, probably I had people telling me that I speak perfect Japanese, exactly the same as a Japanese person, and just lying to my face.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know. It's pretty hard to get like proper feedback, to be honest.
Yeah, it
like
is.
Even like that. I don't know if you guys saw that Saito made a video on my like Japanese.
Yeah, they said you were
Jazzy
perfect,
posted
right?
it to our channel. Yeah.
I don't know. I disagree with them. I don't think it is perfect. I think that's like too nice. So I don't know. I feel like it's really difficult to get like real feedback on it. So
actually, on that topic, right? Kansai-ben, because I remember like Saito, like the hubby, saying that they're not sure if it's wrong or is it just Kansai-ben.
That's the hack.
Could you talk about that?
That's the hack.
That's how you learn Japanese like really well. You just like learn a dialect, and so they can't tell if it's a part of your dialect, or you just don't know if it's correct or not. That's been my hack. It genuinely works. Really, one thing I noticed, like one piece of feedback I did get initially was since I was learning Kansai and I had no regard for like what location I was like learning the Japanese of. Initially, I got told that I have the pitch accent of like 20 different prefectures mixed into one, and like I said, like like some words I'd say like I'm from Hokkaido, or some words would be like from like Fukuoka or something. And like as I've gotten better, it's become more and more focused in on Kansai. And so, yeah, that's probably one thing that I have had feedback on. I sound more and more located in one area than like I've moved, like 100 times throughout my life.
So specifically, it does seem like you kind of honed in on the Kansai-ben. Like
that was the goal. Yeah, that was what I wanted to achieve. But the only like degree, the only like studying I did for it was listening and like actively trying to sound like that when I spoke.
So you targeted what media you were immersing with based on the accent. That's kind of the key piece of how you developed that accent.
Yeah, that's what I did essentially. Yeah, but it's not like I only listen to Kansai. The Kansai dialect. Like my favorite YouTubers still don't speak in the Kansai dialect. They're from Fukuoka, so they speak Hakata-ben. So it's completely different. This is really off topic, but like, do you know Represent-HQ? Either of you?
No.
I was gonna say you're from Indonesia, right? Doth?
Yeah.
They're in Indonesia now, trying to get famous in Indonesia, like failing terribly. And they're trying to like make videos in Indonesian, just randomly. So I wasn't sure if you knew about them. If you did, I wanted to hear your opinion on what the hell is going on there. They're trying to make like songs in Indonesian and stuff.
Really? Wait, can you send me a link? Like a YouTube channel?
If you look up like represent, like just represent, like rep.
Okay.
And then not represent, but like represent Fox, it should come up.
Okay.
I think.
Okay. Oh yeah, they do have Indonesians. I mean, like videos, but why?
I don't know.
I mean, they're getting decent views, but not as good as their old videos.
Yeah, and if you look at the comments, they're all in Japanese. So.
Right. But like the funny thing is like the whole subtitle like scheme is very Indonesian meta.
Really?
It's literally an Indonesian video with Japanese people, I guess.
Yeah.
So I mean, maybe this speaks to some of the charms of other cultures, other people. But I mean, why Kansai? Like why Kansai-ben?
Initially, like a lot of my friends were from Kansai, and I just kind of like as you know, like the vibe in Kansai and like Kansai people have a different sort of vibe to other areas.
Yeah.
And like I don't know, I liked that kind of more like friendly, like comedic sort of vibe, and as well, I just liked how it sounded. And the majority of my friends back then were from Kansai, so I thought, hey, I got some weird accent in English, so I might as well have it in Japanese too, and just flew into that.
Yeah. Would you say like Kansai is the Australia of Japan?
I feel like it is. I'm probably very biased, but like I would say so.
I mean,
so a lot of Yankees and Garus there.
Oh yeah, Gyaru I feel like is more Tokyo, in my opinion. But Yankee and like Yakuza and stuff is like generally associated with Osaka. I feel like.
That was also my experience, like because I lived in Kansai area, and the people that I connected with there were, I guess they didn't seem like the typical Japanese stereotype. Like they'd invite me to stuff, they'd go out of their way to like do stuff. Like we went to like an escape room and like a bunch of just like stuff that is like, I don't think of this as being like a typical like Japanese thing. So this is a lot of fun more outgoing. Yeah. So Kansai people represent. You guys are awesome.
I reckon. Love Kansai.
Peppa's asks, taking Dogen's advice to rewatch a movie repeatedly and shadow it, record yourself, sometimes to practice it. If you had to do this with Kansai-ben, do you have any recommendations?
use Hikaru videos. Just watch Hikaru and like shadow his videos.
The secret.
I mean, the Hikaru Master Race.
Exactly. That's the only option. That's my answer. Yeah.
I mean, did you ever do anything with like that? Repeated content? Never?
Would probably kill myself, to be honest.
Right.
I'm not
repeated content's kind of painful.
I couldn't do that. And I never shadowed or anything. I'm just too, like, I don't know, impatient, and like I don't really care too much about the fine details.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just like pretty keen with just watching whatever and just hoping for the best.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Doth? Do you do any like repeated content at this point, whether it's audio or anything else?
No, I've never rewatched. I've reread something, but only because I've read it in English. I don't think I've ever I've rewatched one movie. That's it, I think.
And then
it gets a bit old.
Yeah, go ahead. So, like with the listening, like as far as like the passive part of it, did you ever do any repeated content there, Aussieman?
Not intentionally, but like at the point where I didn't really. I'm actually doing it now quite a bit with Slovak. Like because I'm learning Slovak at the moment, but like it's because I don't understand it, like barely understand anything. It's like I will just like as passive immersion, or like just while I'm like walking to the supermarket or something, I'll just listen to the same podcast each time, because like each time I'll understand it a little bit better.
Yeah.
And that like satisfaction of understanding it a bit better kind of like gives me some hope that I'm getting somewhere, makes it more enjoyable.
Yeah, so. I've actually found the same, because I've been doing that with just like audiobooks, just like sections of it, because it's like if I just listen to it completely passively, like, I'm gonna wake up in the middle of like them being like halfway through the story or something like that, right? But if I like listen to the same chunk, like eventually it's like, okay, I basically got everything out of this. I'm gonna go to the next chunk. But yeah, is that the same as what you've seen in Slavic, or is that a cope, and I should just be white noising all of it?
Should we all both just be white noising, like stop coping?
I don't know. That's my question.
What do you reckon, Doth?
I mean, I always say that nothing is hard as long as you white noise enough. So
that's such a smart answer. You're so wise, man. Thanks for that.
So let's talk a little bit about listening. So we've already been talking about that, as that's been kind of your focus. Is there? I think we kind of just dove into this, but is there, for white noising, what's your perspective there, Aussieman? Is white noise worth it?
It's a complete waste of time.
Is it really?
I mean, if you're not concentrating, what are you doing? You just kind of like have it there.
Doth, agree?
I would, yeah. I mean, white noise all of it, or don't at all, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So if there's absolutely no chance of you concentrating with it, don't waste your time on it. All right, fair enough.
Yeah.
So Arcano asks, how long did it take before you could start to comprehend what you were listening to?
To what degree? Like fully, like comprehend it, or like just like have some sense of what's going on?
I mean, let's go with like complete.
Were there any stages with that? Like, did you feel like, oh yeah, I kind of get it. I really get it. I know it.
Yeah, kind of there is actually one thing I kind of thought is like you get to the point where you like start to pick out like some sense of what's going on, and you think you have an idea of what's happening, but you really don't. And then later on, you're like, oh wait, I just misunderstood everything, and this is what's actually happening. And then you realize again later that was wrong too, and now you actually know what's going on, and that just kind of continues on for quite a while until you actually do know what's going on. But then you're still missing little details that you don't realize, and that's been that for me. But like, yeah, I'd say that's probably the general process for me. I could go more in depth, but like that's the general kind of thing how I felt when I was going through it.
Do you still feel like it's pretty normal for you to miss out on those little details?
No, but
No.
we'll see in another 6 months.
Mm.
We'll see if I was missing out on stuff or not.
Mm. What about you, Doth?
Sure.
Oh, go ahead, Aussieman. You can expand on that.
I was gonna say, I'm sure there's things I'm like missing out on, but like little subtleties in like pronunciation and pitch and like word choice.
Mhm.
Like the things you miss out on, I feel like get change over time though. Like at the start, it's just gonna be words and like grammar and stuff like that, and eventually it becomes stuff like not intonation in the sense of pitch accent, but like how they're intonating words and stuff like that. And then eventually it's like little details in pitch accent and word choice and stuff like that, and like how they use word choice to like increase engagement with who they're talking to, and like different techniques they use in their speech to make the way they're like addressing their audience, say they're like a podcaster or like a YouTuber, little techniques they use in their speech to engage their audience better. And I feel like those little details become more apparent the more I listen to it.
Does that also match with your experience there, Doth? Like as far as the stages, did you see other stages?
I mean, for like listening, like comprehension, like recently, I feel like I can know something if I can interpret or like I can explain it back into like either English or Indonesian on the spot. So like I recently just had like a sleepover with friends, and we were watching like anime and also like a quiz show in Japanese, and like some of them don't speak Japanese, some of them kind of do, and like if I could explain what's happening while like the show is going on, I feel like I understand completely. Or like when I help somebody with like interpretation, like they go to the shiakusho or like the city hall, and we help with like procedures and stuff. If I can like explain kind of almost simultaneously, I feel like I understand. I can like listen to everything. But I haven't really been a pitch accent learner, to be honest. Like even until now, I say I want to learn it all the time, but I never really fully get into it. So I don't think I have the wisdom to bestow upon people.
I mean, speaking of that, I mean, Aussieman, maybe I'm not sure if you consider yourself to have done enough reading to see this, but do you feel that like reading has hurt your accent at all?
I don't read.
You don't read. Okay, so
I don't think so. I don't know if it can probably only do that if you genuinely don't listen, like at all.
Yeah.
I feel like if you're like, getting a decent amount of listening, surely you're not going to like completely destroy your accent from reading. Like I feel like that's a bit extreme.
What about with like the whole early output thing, that if you just start outputting day one, you feel like that's also something that's going to harm your accent?
No,
and I guess
I don't think so.
Okay.
I outputted like genuinely pretty much from day one because I just wanted to talk to people.
Right.
So I'd like sit there like on Hello Talk on a phone call, barely being able to say anything, like typing shit into Google Translate and trying to communicate in some way.
Yeah.
And like that was just like, from day one I did that. And I feel like I don't really have like, I feel like probably the best part of my Japanese is my accent and speaking. So clearly it didn't really do too much early outputting.
Damn, you hear that, guys? Early output, no problem, right?
Yeah. Stop making excuses. That's the real thing. Just speak.
Ooh, I actually really like that. Yeah. It almost sounds like an excuse to me at this point, because I feel like there are enough people out there that have done it and that are successful with their Japanese. What were you going to say? Go ahead.
I feel like just like really the way to get a good accent and good at speaking is just to speak a lot and like improve very slowly over time by correcting yourself. Not having people do it, but like get your comprehension to a degree where you can like, to a level where you can pick yourself for your mistakes and slowly improve it as you speak.
Yeah.
And I feel like the best way you get to a high level, because you see these people that like have immersed for like 4 years and never outputted, and they still can't output at all. And when they do, they sound really bad. And I feel like that's just because they don't output. Like it just seems like kind of obvious. If you never try and output, you won't be able to, especially since it's like processed in like different areas of the brain. Like, I don't know, it just kind of makes sense that like they're going to be separate sort of things.
That's always been one of the things that sounded weird to me. The whole like, oh, I woke up one day and I was fluent because I immersed for so many years of input.
It's just magic. Just wake up and you're like, oh my God, I can just fully speak it at a native level.
At no point does fluency feel like that, right? Where it's just like, oh, now all of a sudden I'm good. It's like, oh, I sucked today, I suck tomorrow, and then a week ago I was worse, but I'm still bad. Like, and then eventually it's like,
yeah, should be right. That's what it ends up like that.
Yeah.
Should be right. I'll just leave it like this.
So I'm curious on your current thoughts. We have a lot of people, you know, just starting out on their Japanese journey, and one of the things that gets preached about still a lot. I mean, we've already debunked pitch accent. We've debunked whatever we were just talking about, and now we're about to denounce potentially RTK again. So, what are your thoughts on RTK? Is that still worth the start? Worth doing at the start of your Japanese learning?
Probably not. Surely. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like there's a lot better ways to do it. I feel there's like many different ways you can do it that isn't RTK that are more efficient.
What are your current thoughts on that? Like, how would you recommend somebody go about learning kanji then?
Probably use like a pre-made deck that just kind of gets you through it. Like, I don't really know if it matters like that much how you do it, to be honest. Like, you probably could do RTK. I don't know. This is just my opinion, but I feel like those things, like how you learn words or how you learn kanji, doesn't really matter. Like, at the end of the day, so whatever gets you through it works.
Yeah, I've kind of wanted been asking, you know, this question for a while, but as somebody who's, you know, so into like listening or output, do you recall words as just sounds, or do you also think of the kanji in a sense?
Question.
That's really interesting, actually, because I've noticed more and more recently that I just recall them as sounds. Like, every now and then I'll like read something and be like, oh, that's how it's written. Like, that's right. I now have like made the link between the two things. You know what I mean? Like, in general, I just think of things as sounds rather than the kanji and like how it's written. Like, I can still read it, but like, it's like, I don't know, especially now that I'm taking time away from Japanese, I feel the disconnect between it because I'm using the listening and the speaking so much more than the reading, that like, there's some things that are like, I forget like that you write them a certain way. Like, for example, like I was thinking, just like this popped in my head like yesterday or something. Like, you could say something like, I don't know, like, 他になんかあんのかな? Like something like that. Like, 他に, I was thinking like, I rarely see 他に written anywhere because I don't read much. So I've just like, I just think of it as a sound, and then it sounds really weird putting it into
you don't think of like the kanji for
No, at all. And then I remembered, I was like, oh yeah, that's that thing. And I saw it like written. So I think of stuff just as like sounds mainly because of the way I learned it, I suppose.
Do you think that's actually better for comprehension? Like, it's easier to...
Definitely. But I feel like you will eventually form that, because like I still learned words through Anki, like at least the majority of the words that I know through Anki. So like the initial thing I learned it from was the written form. So that's why I can read still, is because I learned it all written, like in the full kanji and everything. And like I was putting like massive sentences in my Anki. My Anki is just like huge, like paragraphs, half of it, when I was using Anki. But like, so at the start it was like that, but I think like once you like listen enough, you almost form like a separate understanding of it, of just like the sounds, if you know what I mean. Like, it's kind of...
Yeah, because like for people who are very into like input instead of output, I think a lot of people who end up trying output, when they listen to words, they don't recognize it until they see the kanji.
Can confirm.
It's kind of blurred.
Yeah.
I suppose it was like that for me as well initially, like before I got like better at this.
So now it's more like you always know what's happening or what you're hearing, but sometimes you don't know the kanji per se, or you don't think about it.
I definitely don't think about it, but like if I saw it on a page, I'd be able to read it.
Okay.
Oh, well, some I like didn't even realize, like I was on like Samayo or something.
Yeah.
Like I saw that today. Someone posted my Discord, and I was like, I have no idea how to read this word, and then they wrote it. Like, I do know that word, and I was like, it's just because I've never seen it written before, because I don't like encounter that stuff. But I know the meaning. I've heard it like hundreds of times. So, yeah.
I would say,
I suppose,
even as somebody who like reads a lot, like I feel like the recognition definitely helps, like when it's like, oh yeah, it's this kanji, but there's still that like mental ease. Like when you were just saying, like, what we were just talking about, like, it's not like you have to wait for your brain to recognize that it's kanji, but I guess that intuitive understanding of, like, I don't know, thinking about it more deeply, like, the kanji definitely, I don't know, has to be there. Like, for me, like, it feels like it has to be there for me to be like, oh yeah, I definitely know that word or something like that. So I don't know, it feels like a security thing or something like that, where it's like, okay, yeah, I do recognize that one, versus just sounds like, I don't know, maybe that's something that I'm losing doing too much reading. I'm not sure. What are your thoughts on that though, Doth?
Yeah, because like me taking Kanken, I think one thing that was beneficial, I would say, is like if I hear something, I know the kanji, I can write it out like in the air.
Yeah.
I feel like there's a connection, like really helps me, especially like when people talk, they introduce themselves, and like you know how they use radicals to say their name, kind of. It's like this radical with this one, and then you get this kanji, and like it comes much more naturally now, instead of like before where I had to actually ask them to write it so I can know. So there's that.
Yeah, that's interesting. I would still definitely be asking them to write
Yeah.
it, because
But like
it helps remembering it.
yeah, it's kind of hard to say. Like, is it something you have to know? Because like, if you come back to Aussieman, like, just knowing the sounds, it's not like there's a lot of duplicates words, right? Like, even if there are some, you can probably like distinct them from like pitch or context. So, do you have to know the kanji kind of thing, right?
Definitely not, because it's like I have like, again, with my Yankee friends, they're like half of them like dropped out of school and can barely read, but like they still get through life and they still have like a native understanding of the language without having the ability to read or write to like, you know, a university level. So like, I don't know. I feel like it's not necessary for daily conversations and just like spoken language. I don't think in any way it's necessary to know the kanji. For spoken language, I mean, like for the daily conversations, I don't see how it would be like necessary to know it.
I've also seen that, like, I've watched like a handful of like Let's Plays, and it's like a reading test, right? Because they're playing like through like some VN like Higurashi, and like there's quite a few. I wouldn't call them like, they don't. Having read as much as I have now, I don't really think of these as rare kanji, but like the first time they stick out to me is when like a Japanese person is like, oh, I can't read like tsunzaku or something like that. And it's like,
right,
okay, like that's really interesting, because I see that written in like VNs and manga like all the time. They're still just like, oh, I gotta look this one up. And I was watching a Let's Play where a guy was literally looking up all the words he didn't know, and it was just like, oh wow, like it matches what you were just saying, Aussieman, that like they're not reading like these rare words, but as soon as like you say it, a lot of times they know it. And then that also brings into question, why am I as a foreigner like spending all this time like reading all these rare words and stuff, when maybe, kind of like you've said before, like, yeah, you probably only need like a vocab of like 5,000, and then like, you know, expand from there. At least I believe that's what you said.
For like basic, like everyday fluency, I'd say, yeah.
To start from that. And then, I mean, where does it grow from there? Like, do you have any idea of like how many words you're?
No idea. I don't use Anki anymore, so it'd be above like, you know, I only had like 10k words in Anki, so it's above that. That's all I know. Be quite a bit above that now, because I know I learn words like constantly from just listening. Because I feel like once you know like essentially everything, all the words you listen to, because like when I like just listen to someone talk, like say it'd be a Twitch stream or something, like it just feels like English at this point.
Yeah.
The degree of clarity I get from it. So words I don't know stick out a lot. And so when it's a word I don't know, if I look it up, it's just like learning a new word in English, essentially. It's not like difficult.
Yeah.
So I feel like that slow process of learning words here and there like that, I don't know, I would have amassed a certain amount of words, but I have no idea how much that is. But it's still growing, like to this day, like constantly learning new words and stuff, but like in a some way, organic way. Because
So
yeah, I just like that. Yeah, pretty much.
Earlier you had said that you had learned most of your words through Anki, right? But I guess now what you're saying is now it's just purely through input, and not even worried about what the writing is, just understanding the word basically at this point, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So let's. Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
Oh no, like I was just gonna say, for example, like in like one of the Twitch streams I was watching the other day, like I learned like 10 different names of STDs or something like that. Like just like random shit. Like some dude saying like, "Oh, I just got this the other day," and I was like, "What's that?" And I looked it up, and I was like, "Oh, it's gonorrhea or something." And I was like, "Oh, Matt, new word." Kind of thing.
Certain
But it's like
obasan
that.
circles that might be useful.
What do you reckon,
Ooh,
Doth?
okay. Actually, I have never actually heard the topic of STDs in the obasan circle. To be honest,
Wow.
I can't recall any. To be honest,
Imagine that, old ladies not talking about that. I can't
I don't know
really
if
see
that's a
them doing that in
secret
any
or.
language. Yeah.
Yeah.
Depends what old ladies you hang out with, I guess. Let's move back to some some lighter topics. Content. So, top 5 podcasts. If you could just rattle those off for us, Aussieman. If you could boil down all of the Japanese podcasts that you've ever listened to only your top 5, what do you reckon?
I can do probably top 3, but
All right.
I don't know more.
Fair enough. Let's start with
I
top
can't
3.
really like, think of any off the top of my head. By far the best one that I listened to was like, what was it? Osaka no Ippanjin ni yoru podcast was my favorite.
Sell it to us.
So it's just like some like middle-aged man and middle-aged woman sitting there and just talking shit about like random topics.
Okay.
It's like not hugely interesting, but it's like good as a learning tool, and like I enjoyed it. I thought they were funny. So
I feel like that's kind of like the whole sell of like Terrace House too. Like it was like, yeah, it's nothing that interesting is happening like comparatively, but like yeah, keep going. What else?
Otherwise, Honda-ken no jinsei soudan. That's a mad one. It's just this random guy giving like random life advice about from his like bit when he's asked questions. I feel like that's pretty cool. Like it's a good learning thing as well, because like you learn how to talk in a sophisticated way, and also explain kind of like the answers to problems, and like through that you can kind of learn how to speak in like a structured way to answer questions that you don't sound like an idiot. But
is it like self-improvement topics?
Yeah, mainly. It'll be something like, or it could be like, I think my husband's cheating on me. How do I find out? Also, it could be just like anything. Or it could be like, how do I quit my job? Or like, how do I save money? Or just like random life advice stuff. So generally self-improvement though.
Any other ones?
Last one?
This one, I can't remember the name of it, but it's like,
we can post it afterwards if you just want to describe it.
It's like something like 恋愛専門家ジュリアが like something like, I don't know, what does she do? It's just like, I think it's like 野獣でも美女を捕まえるテクニック or something like that. Some random thing like that. And it's like dating advice for like guys with like.
Wait, is this Julia in Style YouTube channel? No,
it's a podcast though. It's okay. Maybe she has a podcast. Maybe she has a YouTube channel, but it's for like incels trying to get a girlfriend. It's really
perfect for DJ T and friends, right?
Yeah.
You might want to send it to them. I got this one from what's his name? George from Japanese from Zero. He recommended that.
Yo,
it helps him out in his life.
What about you, Doth? Do you have any podcasts that you enjoy?
I always listen to Yurugengo Goku Radio, which is like the talking about Japanese in Japanese, pretty funny. Also, I listen to like not really anime, because like I have favorite seiyus like Minori Inase. I listen to her podcast.
What is she voice acted for?
A few anime. She's just a singer in general, and yeah, I like her voice and kind of her antics, I guess. And let's see. I can't think of like a third one on the top of my head, but yeah.
All right, let's talk a little bit about YouTube. So that's your bread and butter. That's yeah. So what top 5 YouTubers, or your top handful?
Yeah, right. We'll try and like see how many I can fit in. We've got to go first with Osaka Taro. He's a streamer on YouTube with about 3,000 subscribers, but he's my boy. He's the best.
Very popular in the Language Gains Discord server. Yes.
He is very popular. We've got a couple of emotes from him.
Yeah.
And what else we got? Obviously Hikaru. He's a close second.
Mhm.
And then
So what's
some
the
other ones-
selling point on Hikaru? Because I've only watched a handful of his videos, and
yeah,
I'm not even sure what he is or what he's doing. He was just like
some rich dude with, like a weird haircut who spends a lot of money on dumb shit, like bet like 500K on a horse race or something.
Okay.
And it's essentially the whole selling point that like I thought was he speaks like really well for a Japanese person in a natural way because he's like a businessman. It's like sophisticated but still like down to earth. Like you don't just sound like you're stuck up or something. And then as well, he's got like I think it's like 1,900 videos, and half of them are like 5 hours long. Like well, not half, but like a few of them are like 5 hours long. Most are like an hour though. So it's like a few 1,000 hours of content. And he's also collaborating with like a bunch of Japanese YouTubers, so you can find other YouTubers you like from there. And as well, a lot of the videos are in groups, so you get to see how people interact with each other and talk in groups and stuff, which I feel like is the place where you're going to really encounter the most natural Japanese. So that's the reason I think he's really good. And as well, he's from Kansai, which is obviously the most important point there.
Most important.
Then, yeah. Who else is there otherwise? YouTubers. Asakura Mikuru, like the MMA fighter. He's mad.
So like his style of videos are just talking about MMA fighting, showing fights, like all of the above.
Initially it was MMA stuff, and now it's just like him like just talking with his mates, having a barbecue or something like. It's just like random things. It's not even like fully about MMA anymore. It's like his selling point, but like it's just like random videos, just like a normal YouTuber now. And yeah, got to chuck him in there because he's my boy. He let me train with him in Japan, so
right. You talked about that on the first episode of the GIGACHAD podcast, kind of that experience. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, getting bashed by a Japanese fighter. He really did not care that I was an amateur. He just like full up bashed me. By the way,
maybe that was him taking it easy on you, and he's actually holding back. And
yeah, well, I'm sure he was holding back, but like he was laughing while he was just like while I was like trying to cover up while he was just smacking me in the face. I've still got videos of it. Maybe I'll release it at some point.
I mean,
of me just on the ground with him on top of me, punching me in the face, laughing.
Is there a rematch potential there? You gonna maybe use the Oni-chan technique that we talked about earlier?
You know what? I'll say if I ever fight him somehow through some miracle, I will do that 100%. I guarantee.
I'm going to hold you to that. Yeah.
No. This is a promise. If that somehow happens, I'll say it. Whether it be in the fight or like in the press conference beforehand, I'll say it to him at some point.
Okay.
As a
I think I have to make this happen now. Now I'm invested in this.
Exactly. I know you've got a lot of power here at the Deep Weeb podcast, so I just want to put you on the spot a little bit so you can help me make this happen.
I'll see what I can do. My people will talk to his people.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, who are the other YouTubers? Oh, Wai. He's like a gaming channel, which is really great. And then Tenchimu. I like her too. Not for any reason in particular. She's just like fun.
Just like what style of videos? Just
random
talking?
Like travel, just talking, like random stuff.
So you mentioned games. Is that something that you've explored very much in Japanese, or is it more just you enjoy watching other people talk about games? Like, is that an interest of yours?
Not particularly. When I was a kid, like, you know, in like primary school, like up until I was like 13, 14, I was playing like a heap of games and stuff, but I don't really play them anymore. But like this YouTuber that like Wai is just a really funny guy. Like I just watch his like live streams of him just talking anyway. So yeah, I enjoy him playing them. It's pretty funny. He's the funniest. You got to watch Wai. Like it's actually the best YouTuber.
Yeah, I think after this we'll have to compile some lists.
Yeah,
he's like 35 as well. He's the best guy.
Any other in general, like we talked about YouTube podcasts, but any other content that sticks out that you think people should check out?
JAV, obviously. That's the most important one.
Absolute answer. Yeah.
I haven't seen that channel on YouTube. We'll move on. What type of music are you into? That was actually one from somebody on DJT. They were thinking of.
Like mainly metal, like heavy metal and stuff.
Okay, that's also my
expertise.
Okay. Also in Japanese?
I don't know many. I know like barely any Japanese metal bands. I tried to find some, but I could never find any like decent ones.
I can send you
Oh,
some.
yeah?
I've seen them live.
Please send me some. I actually be really thankful.
Yeah, I will. What are your go-to metal bands?
Oh, so hard at the moment. Like, I'm really into Slipknot recently, but
That's why you
otherwise,
came
then-
out to Slip. You came out to Slipknot on the
Yeah.
MMA, right? Like,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Okay.
Otherwise, you know, Megadeth, Metallica, like
Mm,
Some old school.
yeah,
Oh.
Pantera. What else? Trivium. Tool. I really love Tool.
Mhm.
And then, yeah, what else?
oh, okay.
Yeah, off the top of my head, but like most metal bands. I love just metal in general. Otherwise, I like Japanese rap as well. It's not bad.
Have you ever heard of the Japanese metal? I think it's metal. ICDD, Imperial Circus Decadence.
I've never heard of that.
It's a very hard death metal kind of band.
Oh,
Hmm.
bad.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, they do have kind of anime vibes, but like,
Yeah,
well, not
fair.
really. Actually, they're full on metal. But yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, that'd be cool. I'll check them out.
I went to.
Uh,
Oh, go ahead, Doth.
no, it's okay. Because like, yeah, I hear their stuff and I really like them. So
Where did you find them, Doth?
also, like rhythm games, they're like
Mm.
a staple provider of very strong beats.
Interesting.
Metal. So
I saw. So when I was living in Kansai, my wife was actually taking me to some of these underground concerts. Some of these bands I don't even know their names, but the one that I do remember was Palm, like palm of your hand, and extremely heavy and very Japanese. And then there's another one called Azami that is like metalcore and a little bit more mainstream-ish, but also saw them live a couple times. It was the only place that I've seen a crowd surf that involved only two people. So one person picked up the
Whoa.
other person, and the person
mad.
went over the fence on the other side where the band was, right? Because they were like at the front. One person crowd surf, and it was like the typical setup, right? Like one guy like bends out, like, come on, man, get on this. And I'm like, all right, here we go. We're doing it. So yeah, Azami was pretty cool. I saw them twice with like Mild Rage, which is also Japanese female vocalist that does like screaming and stuff too. So pretty heavy stuff. It's good.
That's so cool. I know like no Japanese bands, like metal bands, so that's mad.
Yeah. I also saw Maximum the Hormone live, and that was, I don't know.
Ah, that's nice. Yeah.
That'd be so good. I love those guys.
That was the peak of my life. It's been all downhill since, but it was a good peak.
That's fair enough.
So let's see. Okay, so Connor was really coming through with the questions, and one of his questions was, why don't you just accept that visual novels and anime full of 11-year-old girls are the only pathway to becoming Jozu? All right, so first off, can you explain to us what Jozu is?
Oh, it's it's just this guy that like, lives in Japan in a little hut in northern Japan, and like he grades your level of Japanese.
Okay.
And so it's not just a guy, but it's like a position. And every 10 years there's a new Jozu appointed. And the category, like, to which they judge you of whether you can become the Jozu of the new era is how many like 11-year-old girl anime have you watched?
Okay.
Or visual novels have you read?
Nihongo Jozu. All right. So along those same lines, while it sounds like you just endorsed this style of media, I've heard you say a couple times VNs are trash.
Because they are.
Okay. So this
Very strong
is
opinion.
where the real interview conversation begins, because Doth, very heavy believer in all things VN. We've got the VN denouncer here, Aussieman. Doth, how do you respond to that?
I mean, the dude hasn't read a VN, so like, how can you say it's trash?
Okay.
Should I say that far?
I mean, yeah. Where do you get off, Harry, telling all these people that VNs are trash, having not read any?
Because I feel no need to read like
Trash.
like book anime. Yeah, that as well. Like, why would I want to read anime, something I don't like, with words when I don't like words. Like words and like scare me. I don't like libraries. I get
Words
afraid.
scare you. Wow, that is interesting.
Okay. So, I mean, you have. I mean, what if Doth gave you a really heartfelt recommendation? Would you be willing to check out one VN? That way, you can say, I checked that box and it wasn't for me.
No.
I mean, the dude's scared of words, so
Okay,
it's kind of hard.
I mean,
right?
I'm trying to
I
get
can't
people
read,
to
so-
overcome their
No,
boundaries,
but
their obstacles.
the reason I don't like him is because I can't read. So like it just makes me feel like really depressed about myself because I can't read English or Japanese.
Okay.
Right. I mean, Aussieman's scared of words, same as like VN readers are scared of grass. So
Yeah.
fair.
It's a fair point.
Like I cry when I see a book.
Understandable.
So I think we've learned two of your weaknesses today. First off, just reach out, palm to the head, flip them, and the second is just hold up a book. All right.
Yeah.
If you put a book up like this, I would like just run, like full speed, like sprint backwards, and cry.
Sprinting backwards. Okay, cool. So
Yeah.
let's start to move towards closing this out. What do you feel like are your next steps with Japanese from here?
Quit and then go attack some Gaijin hunter.
Absolutely based.
I believe that.
I'm gonna forget that.
Now, if you had to give a serious answer, if I was holding you at book point,
Okay.
I will
calm
open
down,
this
man.
up if you do not give me a serious answer.
Okay, calm down.
What do you actually see?
One thing I actually do want to do with it is like fight in Japan as a professional and use it, my ability to speak Japanese to promote myself as a fighter in Japan is one thing I would like to do with it if I have the chance to.
So is that something you're actively working on, or is that just kind of, well, if I get the opportunity, I'll take it, or where are you at?
No, that's like what I'm actively working towards.
Mm-hmm. Are there any things you need to do with your Japanese specifically to achieve that, or is it really just MMA based at this point? You need to just work on it.
Yeah.
So I guess along that same line, like, what do you see as those next steps for you on your path to become the number one MMA man?
In Japan, we'll see. I suppose win another fight is the next step.
Okay, fair enough. Like,
Yeah.
is there like a
Just
road,
don't lose.
a roadmap to where you want to go?
Essentially, like what I think I'm probably going to try and do is keep winning, of course, and keep raising my skill level, and as well start to like try and create a Japanese channel, like a channel in Japanese where it's just based around MMA content, whether I'd be like doing predictions or like talking about MMA, filming my own training, and just try and promote myself as a fighter, but in Japanese to target a Japanese audience, and just see how that goes.
Yeah. Are there any actually like foreign MMA fighters using Japanese? Because you would think that's like an open industry for you, man, right?
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, because there's no one like targeting that at the moment.
That's your niche, guy. Like somebody, don't take that. That's Aussieman's thing.
Please
all
don't
right?
take it from me.
Don't take that. Like
Jazzy,
like it's Kool-Aid.
You better be the don't take
Jazzy,
it.
man.
Don't take it from me. My one thing.
So again, closing things out, where can people find you online, Aussieman? Where should people be connecting with you?
Just on my Aussieman YouTube channel and the Language Games Discord server is the main two places. Yeah.
All right. And Doth, what about you? Can
just
people
Doth.
even find you anymore, Doth?
He's run away.
I've removed myself from most servers. I mean, if you like DM me, I'll answer, to be honest. But yeah, Doth5403.
All right. And final question that we ask people on the podcast here, Aussieman, what's one piece of advice that you give to people learning Japanese?
Is this the Koreka message of this podcast?
I don't know what that is. I'm completely unfamiliar with that, despite having been on the podcast.
Sorry.
Yeah.
One piece of advice, like a serious piece of advice, would be don't get too caught up in trying to master things, and just enjoy the process and form your own path that is catered towards your own goals, and don't get obsessed with what other people are doing.
Okay. It sounded like you had a not serious answer there too, Aussieman. I don't want to pressure you for it, but if it's already queued up, it'd be a real shame to close this out without knowing.
Yeah, I was gonna say like the other way the one piece of advice otherwise would be like if you want to get really good is just try and like numpy as many obasan as you can, and the more obasan you numpy, the more better at Japanese you'll get.
Is this
I
like
can confirm.
is this like
That's how me and Doth actually do Japanese, by the way. We haven't told you yet, but
a lot of people track stats. It sounds like this could be the next stat tracker. How many numpy obasans you got?
it's really hard to say, but yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, on that fitting ending note, we'll go ahead and end this. Thanks so much for joining. You guys can please do like, subscribe, share it. We'll be back with another one in a while, but appreciate you guys hanging out with us. Have a good one. Bye.